Would it be cool if we all just agreed to pretend like this is a good background and it's not just like a random alcove of my apartment and it happens to have a good window in front of it, so I'm gonna film in front of it even though literally it's just random nonsense in the background? Just like picture that there's a bookshelf behind me. Can you do that? Okay, perfect. Hey, what's up? Hello, Katie here. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're gonna do my August wrap up. And I don't think I'm being dramatic by saying that August has been my best reading month of all of 2021. And I don't just mean like in terms of how many books I read, because it wasn't like an astronomical amount, but actually it was an astronomical success in terms of like what I did in July. Because I didn't even film a wrap up for July because I was that disappointed in myself. The reading slump was real. But anyway, what I mean is that I read like the best books I've read all year this month. And I know there's been a couple like really big successes. And I see a spider web on my ceiling. What? No. What? I'm sure you can't see that. It's literally, it's finer than frog's hair. Okay, we're just gonna let that fall to the ground. I can't cut that out. I literally just like the light glared on it and I was like, why is there a spider web hanging from my ceiling? What was I talking about? Books, I bet. I was talking about books. I read my top 3 like best books I've read all of 2021 in August. I'm gonna save those for the end. And then also I wanna let you know that there are a couple of these books that are going to be coming out in, I hope, next week's reading vlog. So you're gonna kind of see a double up of me talking about them. But you know what? Why not? But before we get into all of that, I'm going to talk about today's sponsor, my favorite sponsor, which is Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a very popular book subscription service where their team vets hundreds of new releases each month to curate a list of 5 books for you to choose from so that you can spend less time researching and more time reading, which we all need. Book of the Month does not ship internationally, but it is risk-free, meaning you can skip any month with no fee. It's also the best price for new release hardcover fiction, especially with my code Katie and then my link down below. For Book of the Month, you'll get your first book for $9.99. And that's amazing because new hardcover release are like $27 to like $30. Like it's absolutely preposterous, but you can get it for $9.99. Hello? And if you have not considered it in the past and you are considering it now, you're thinking about joining Book of the Month, I would really, really highly appreciate if you would use my code down below and my link. It really helps me out. And also thank you so much to the Book of the Month for sponsoring me. Let's get into the 5 books that they are offering us in September. The first selection is an autobiography, and it is Beautiful Country by Keon Julie Wang, and this is a memoir that puts you in the shoes of an undocumented child living in poverty in the richest country in the world. Next, we have a contemporary romance, and that is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Now, this is supposedly about a fake relationship between 2 scientists, but what I've heard from multiple sources is that this is a Rilo fanfiction or that it reads like one. And I've heard this from quite a few people. So even if this is not supposed to be Rilo fanfiction, everyone says that if you love Rilo, you're gonna love this. And if you don't know what that is, it's just the pairing of Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars, if you've been living under a rock. But this actually, Olivia's review for this on Goodreads just said, this is scrumptiddlyumptious. And I was like, say less. Then we have The Neighbor's Secret by L. Allison Heller, and this is a thriller/mystery about a book club where really the book club considers themselves like the neighborhood watch. Like nothing happens in this suburb without these ladies knowing about it. But then when a bunch of like late night vandalism starts targeting this book club, the women have to know how far they're willing to let this go to keep their secrets. I've heard that this is being kind of praised as if you like Leanne Moriarty, if you like Big Little Lies, then you'll be a fan of L. Allison Heller, and I'm a fan of Leanne Moriarty, so this definitely sounds intriguing. The Sweetest Remedy by Jane Egaro is actually a repeat author. She also wrote The Ties That Tether, which I've heard amazing things about. So this is a contemporary romance about a woman who travels to Nigeria to attend the funeral of the father she never knew, and there she meets a very extravagant family, a new and inspiring love interest, like look how cute they look, are you freaking kidding me? And then she discovers a lot of things about herself that she didn't realize that she was missing. I love this cover so much, like, this is stunning. And the last one is Alice Feeney's newest release. Now, I've never read an Alice Feeney book, but I know that she is touted as being like very, very popular in the mystery thriller genre. I know Gabby has loved quite a few of her books, and I love this cover so much. Oh my God. But listen, okay, when I was reading all of these summaries, I was like, I have to read you just the whole summary. Like, I'm sorry, we're gonna take an extra second because this summary from beginning to end is a roller coaster, and I'm obsessed. Okay. Think you know the person you married? Think again. Things have been wrong with Mr. and Mrs. Wright for a long time. Every anniversary, the couple exchange traditional gifts: paper, cotton, poetry, pottery, tin, and each year, Adam's wife writes him a letter that she never lets him read. Until now. What? I love that. Okay. Self-confessed workaholic and screenwriter Adam Wright has lived with face blindness his whole life. What? He can't recognize friends or family or even his own wife. What? And Amelia is sick of feeling unseen. Like, okay, there's so many elements of this I already love. When Adam and Amelia went a weekend away to Scotland, it might be just what their marriage needs. They both know this weekend will make or break their relationship, but they didn't randomly win this trip. One of them is lying, and someone doesn't want them to live happily ever after. What? 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secrets, and an anniversary they will never forget. Okay, thank you so much, Book of the Month. This sounds so good. Another quick thank you to Book of the Month for sending me these options. If you are interested in them, check out the link below. Now let's get right into the wrap up. So for the first 3 books I read, they were actually 3 graphic novels. I own the first 2 and I read the third one on Kindle. So the first one is Fence Volume 1 and then there is Fence Volume 2, in which this is so hot. Like, the cover of this book, it's sexy. Okay, so basically we are following Nicholas, who is an illegitimate son of like a very famous fencing champion, and then his nemesis, Seji, which is like the fencing boy wonder who remains unbeatable. The 2 first meet when they have a competition in a tournament where basically Seji very quickly and easily just wipes the floor with Nicholas, doesn't even make eye contact with him, and basically says like that Nicholas is so far below him that he's invisible. He can't even see him, wouldn't even deign to respond to him. And this causes and spurns such a deep-seated hatred inside Nicholas that he spends the next couple years of his life doing nothing but training to beat Seji in one epi, like one battle. That's all he wants. It's literally like his life goal to beat this guy one time. That would already be enough for enemies to lovers, but it gets better. So they both get accepted into this private school that has a very, very elite fencing team, and they both are brought on to see if they're gonna make it on the team. But only one freshman gets in, and obviously Seji is the one everyone thinks is a shoo-in, but then Nicholas comes in on a scholarship. Now that's a problem because if he doesn't make it on the team, he is going to lose a scholarship and he cannot pay to go to the school, so he's gonna have to drop out of college. Or high school. Is it college? Wow, I really don't remember. I think it's college. I feel like it has to be college, right? Yeah, sure, it has to be college. It's college. I say completely convincingly. So basically it's like, which one of them is gonna get in? And oh my God, wait, hold on. Not only that, it gets better. They're roommates! They get just randomly selected to be roommates and they can't switch. And the only thing that's separating them and their 2 freaking twin beds is like a rubber ducky, like blanket that they've like pinned to the wall so they don't have to look at each other and watch each other change and stuff. And it is hot. It's hot. I love this art style so much. Like, I love it. It's just so simple and like angular and sharp. And like, I love the coloring. I love this like kind of light blue, like light electric blue, and the black and white. It's just stunning. Absolutely love it. I think that this book is so witty. It's so sharp. It's so like egotistical. It's just competitive and just rich, and like that it's also sweet too with other things. And then it's also so gay. Like, it's so gay. Like, just read it. Like, get it on Kindle. Like, they're available, I'm pretty sure, like almost immediately on Libby. So you have to wait like 1 or 2 days and then you can read all 4 of them. I haven't read the 4th one yet, but then I also heard that they're not graphic novels anymore and that they're made into novels. I'm just not really interested in that. So I probably will only read the 4 graphic novels, but I can't wait to see what happens in the 4th one. I'm pumped. Then we have The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. So this is rich people drama. We truly love to see it, okay? But this is about a group of like Texas housewives who go out with their martinis and their gossip and they just shoot guns. At what? Doesn't matter. For what? Doesn't matter. They just like to feel powerful and cool and like bad, you know? And I love it for them, honestly. So our main character joins this group and immediately becomes obsessed with like the alpha female, the leader of the group, Margot Banks, who I took the sage advice of our dear friend Gabby and viewed her as Margot Robbie. Highly recommend. Our girl Margot Banks is like a bisexual femme fatale, and I love a trope turned on its head because I love seeing like women seducing other women into doing their bidding. Like it's so sexy and fun and cool. Love it. Like I was just as obsessed with Margot Banks as all the other characters in this book. Well, the trouble comes in when a teenage body is found in the woods where they shoot their guns. Yeah, so that's not so great, you know, accusations start flying, secrets start, you know, rumors start spreading, secrets are revealed, but who did it? And what was their motive? Listen, I gave this 4.5 stars, I freaking loved it. It lacked just a little bit in the ending that I wanted, but I feel like I'm probably being a little bit too judgmental and I could probably give this 5 stars, but it didn't have like the va-va-va-va-voom in the end that I really needed to push it to a 5 star. But this is 4.5. It's amazing. I read it basically in one day. Like I listened to the audio and it's so fast and I followed along with it, quite a bit of it with the physical book. And it's so quick. It's so quick-witted. It's just so much fun. Like I love rich people drama. It's so fascinating. It's just so good. And I love when it's like a group of females who it's like half female, like what is that, where it's like female against female and then half female loyalty, and you're like, oh my god. And then also when there's like females who are really smart and are like overpowering and over like mentally manipulating the men. Sexy. We love to see it. 4.5 stars. Next we have The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chachki. So this is a heist story set in the glittering heart of Paris. We're following a group of characters, but our main player is Severin, who's a treasure hunter, and he is tasked by like the elite order of the Babel to go and find this artifact. And what they say, and as an offering, is that if he gets it for them, they will give him his true inheritance. Contents of which are a mystery. So to pull this off, Severin pulls together a group of unlikely experts. So he pulls together a historian, a dancer, an engineer, his brother, you know, like a bunch of people. All of whom have debts to pay. All of whom have pasts that they're running from, okay? Like it's very, if you like Six of Crows, I think you'll like this cast of characters. Speaking of the cast of characters, this is something where I gave this, anyway, speaking of characters, this is a book where I gave it 4 stars because I did not like immediately like really like fall in love with the characters. I think that I've heard that you need to read the second book, that the first book lays everything out, gets you used to the world a little bit, gets used to the characters, and that in the second book it really hits off. I'm really hoping that's the truth. I am planning on reading the second book. This is still 4 stars, which is absolutely fantastic. Like, I still love it, but I feel as though there were a lot of things that needed more explanation. Like, the relationship between Layla and Severin, I thought was hot. Like, it's hot. It is. And there's a lot of sexual tension, but why? Like, I need their history, you know? Like, they basically just kept going over and over again saying that there was this one night that both of them were trying not to talk about. And it's not a spoiler, like they talk about it in like the first 20 pages. There's a night where like they had sex a long time ago and that they're both acting like it didn't happen. And I'm like, that's it? That's like the whole sexual chemistry behind you guys is like one time? But what made y'all have sex in the first place? Like, I need some backstory. I need some flashbacks of y'all having sexual tension, of y'all having mutual respect. Like, that's what I need, okay? Speaking of a character I'm absolutely obsessed with, Hypnos. Hypnos is the sun, okay? He is a king, he's a god. We are all blessed to be in his presence, okay? Like, I am obsessed with him. He radiates Leo energy. He just walks in a room and he's like, I am fabulous, I am amazing, kiss my feet, I am literally raining gold. Like, he is a giant star in the sky. He's fantastic, absolutely obsessed with him. I also really liked Zofia, and Zofia is a character where, although never explicitly labeled in the book, she is, in my opinion, very clearly autistic, and or at least in some form autistic. And I really liked that character development. I think, or that character depth. I think that the way that Rashani went into that was very interesting and very respectful, and I really liked it. And I'm very curious to see how Zofia's character is going to grow in the second book. Speaking of representation, something that Rashani Chachki did so incredibly well is she had a lot to say about like xenophobia, classism, racism. And let's highlight racism real quick, because not only did she talk a lot about Asian racism, but she went even deeper and had internalized and like even more segregated racism within the Asian communities. And I thought that was really amazing. So like, just to use an example, it would be like, okay, so say if a white person saw a Vietnamese person and a Filipino person, and they just went, oh yeah, they're both Asian. And then those characters are like, no, like we're not the same. We're both Asian, but like we're different, you know? So there would be that level of racism, but then she took it a step further and had, like, say the Filipino character and the Vietnamese character be racist toward each other. And it would be like if a Filipino character looked at a Vietnamese character and discriminated against them and called them like a communist or something. Like, it would be like that. So that was very interesting, and I don't really ever see that like extra step and like real, especially internalized racism, segregated into smaller communities. So I really loved seeing that in this book, and that's something that I just don't feel like I read that often. But all that to say, I gave this 4 stars, and I am definitely anticipating reading the second book. And then we have a book that not only is a reread, but is one of the books that you're gonna see in an upcoming video, and that is The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. So I originally read this book like 6 or 7 years ago, I feel like, and I gave it a glowing 5 stars, absolutely adored it, went right on my favorite shelf. But since then, I've read several of Peter Swanson's other books, and I have given them between 1 and 2 stars. So I knew that I had to read this book again before I put it back on my shelf as something that you would see behind me and like think I recommend. So in this book, we are following Ted, who just found out that his loving wife has been cheating on him with their contractor. So he's in an airport bar and he's stewing in his anger when Lily slides up and is like, "Hey buddy, you seem blue. What's going on?" And he spills the whole hot pot of tea on her. Spills the whole tea, okay? And then he accidentally says, "You know what? I just want to kill her." And then shockingly, Lily is totally game. Lily is totally game. No flinch, no hesitation. She's like, "Then do it." And offers to help him. But as they form this alliance and plan this murder, Ted starts falling in love with Lily, and it kind of spins into this like cat and mouse game that involves way more murder than I remembered. Like, also, I'm so glad that there were things that caught me by surprise, because I've read this book before and there were definitely several plot twists that I completely forgot about, and that was a lot of fun. The concept of 2 people just sitting down and logically and calmly and rationally just making a plan to murder someone, phenomenal. I love it. I love that. Oh my God. Like, I wish more writers would write about that crazy shit. Like, I just think that's so fascinating and fun. Like, that's my cup of tea, you know? So love that. I think that if you have not read this book before, I would definitely recommend it. Like, definitely recommend reading it if you haven't yet. I'm not going to keep it because I've already read it twice and I don't see myself reading it again in the future. I'm honestly shocked this has not been made into a movie. Like, very surprised, because this could easily get made into a movie and it would be a huge success. Like, a huge success. But anyway, I think that this is good. I think I'm giving it a 4 star. And the reason that I'm gonna give it a 4 star is because it is very unique. It is new, or at least like not a concept that's used very often. And I think it was done well here, but it does that thing that Peter Swanson does in like every one of his books. And that's where at like 85% of the way in, he just does something gross. Like, there's just some gross element of the story that's brought in that's completely unnecessary. And it's always a man. It's always a man doing something weird with women, and it's disgusting. And this is not a spoiler, but in this book, it's like pornographic poetry. It's basically like there's a character that just for some reason, we get to see these weird little haikus he's writing about women and talking about them sexually and doing weird sexual stuff to them. Why? Like, it doesn't even serve the plot. Like, for what? Like, for why? Why? It just made me side-eye Peter Swanson, okay? I didn't like it. And for what? Like, there was no point. Anyway, 4 stars. Where do I even begin? Where do I even begin? This book is so confusing that I have tried talking about it so many times and still cannot form a coherent sentence. But I'll try my best. Okay, this is set in space, all right. There's 9 planets, or like houses as they call them, and the magic system is all based around necromancy, but it's different forms of necromancy. Like there's bone magic, there's like medicine magic, there's spirit magic, like a bunch of different magic systems. And basically there's this guy called like the Emperor, and he decides that he wants some lictors. And basically lictors are like really elite necromancers. They're like the shamans, you know, of necromancers. So he says, okay, I want a necromancer from all 9 planets. I want your best and your brightest to come to this random haunted mansion in the sky. It's literally just this random floating Gothic mansion with a bunch of weird shit going on inside of it. He says, come on, fam. Come on and let's do this. But then do what? Nobody knows. Literally nobody knows. They go there and they're like, okay, we're going to be told how to become lictors. We're going to do this whole thing. They get there and literally like the tour guide person is like, oh, I have no idea. I have no idea how you become a lictor. Literally no clue. And he's like the oldest, wisest person of all these planets, and he doesn't know what's going on. So me as the reader was like, how do you anticipate for me to understand what's going on? Because not only does the main character not know what's going on, none of the characters know what's going on. And I feel like the author didn't even... Tamsin Muir, gorgeous, stunning. I feel like she didn't really have any idea what was going on. Like, she really did it. She did it. Couple things. This cover's absolutely stunning. Also, the character Gideon, amazing. Like, amazing. One of the best characters I've ever read. Fucking stunning. She's hysterical. Like, truly just so brash and witty and sharp and just crazy. Like, I loved her. And the reason we're following Gideon, so Gideon is one of the main characters and then Harrow is the other. So Harrow is the necromancer of the 9th planet, okay? And Gideon is her cavalier, or like her swordswoman, which she doesn't want to be. Gideon wants to leave the planet, but Harrow wants to become a lictor, and she has to have a swordswoman or swordsman to go with her to this haunted mansion in the sky. She has to, that's like the rules. And Gideon's the only option. So she has to tie herself to her basically, and it's like, you have to come with me. And they are nemesises. They're nemesises. Yikes. They hate each other and have their entire life. And they're like basically the only 2 people on their planet that are young. Everyone else is like a lot older than them because all the children mysteriously died on their planet except them. So it's very, very interesting. I loved their relationship so much, like so much. It was so good. But the book made no god dang sense. It made no sense. It doesn't make any sense. I swear to God. I had to read the first half of this book twice. Still didn't know what was going on. And then I had to go and look on the Wikipedia and read. I literally read the entire synopsis on Wikipedia, even though it was spoilers, then finished reading the last half of the book, and it made it a better experience because it made me be like, okay, well, I'm still confused, but not as confused. And that helped. But like, here's the thing. There's so many things about this book that are fantastic. So many things. Like, oh my God, there's so many lines that are so good, or moments where you're like, oh my God. But it's not worth it. Like, the ride isn't worth it to get there. Like, it just isn't. It's just not. And I really, really, really wish that Tamsin Muir would just stop writing this series and start writing something else, which is horrible to say that. But it's going to be a 4-book series, and it takes her like 3 years to come out with each book. And I really want to read what she ends up writing next, because these books are too confusing, and I think she'll learn from this and like expand and expound and like be more descriptive and more logical in her next books, because I loved so much of this, but I couldn't do it. And that also, well, first I'll tell you that I gave this 3.5 stars because I wanted to give it a higher rating, but it didn't make any sense. Anyway, that's gonna move me right into my next book, which is Harrow the Ninth. And I DNF'd this at like 100 and something pages because, oh my God, this book was even more confusing. It was even more confusing. How is that even possible? I don't know. This is one where I ended up going and watching a bunch of people's reviews on YouTube, and everyone said the book was confusing. Even people that were like, this is my favorite series of all time, I loved it. Everyone said that for the first half of the book, you have no idea what's really going on. You don't know, you're confused. What character perspective are you in? Why is Harrow doing this? What's going on? Everything's confusing. Why are things happening this way? And it's not until halfway through the book that you realize what's going on. And I was like, I'm not gonna sit around until halfway through the book. I'm not doing that. And yeah, it's a good plot twist. Like, I already looked it up, but I was like, that's cool. But you're taking too damn long, and you're really expecting the reader to stick with you for like 250 pages to find out what was happening in those 250 pages. And then they're gonna have to go back to the beginning and read it again to understand what was happening. I just don't have time for that, okay? So I DNF'd it. Next, we have Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix, not to be confused with Final Girls by Riley Sager, even though there is a lot of similarities between them. And funny enough, I had a very similar rating. Actually, I think I had the exact same rating. I gave both of those 2 stars. Not a fan of either of them, even though I loved all of the rest of Riley Sager's books, and I love all the rest of Grady Hendrix books. Maybe I'm not a fan of slashers. I think that might be it. But basically, Final Girls is like a really classic slasher term about the last person standing when the credits roll. So it's basically like the last girl to survive. You know, in a movie, it's usually like the virgin that like shockingly survives, even though like the football players and the jocks and all that, like they all die, you know? But this takes it a step farther. Like Grady Hendrix says, no, you can't just be the last girl, you have to kill the killer. So it's the girl who fights back, gets bloody, and avenges her fallen friends. In this book, we're following 6 women who have, in some horrific fashion, become one of these final girls. They've had movies written about them, they're constantly being hounded by the media, and they form like a support group that they meet up once a month to alleviate anxiety, paranoia, and just have somebody to relate to. And they also have a therapist that kind of does a group session with them once a month. Now, everything's going as well as you can be, I guess, until one of them goes missing. And then it looks like they're trying to be picked off one by one. So it's kind of like they're in another situation of like a massacre, but the massacre is of the final girls. Let me start off by saying that I love Grady Hendrix. I love him. Did I love this book? No, definitely not. Did not love it. Still gonna read everything that he comes out with, love him, but this book did not do it for me at all. The main character is so paranoid, like her paranoid is totally well-founded. Absolutely warranted, but way too repetitive. Like, we did not need to go through the steps, all these precautionary steps that she would take before she left the house. Okay, fine. But after the 3rd time, it's just repetitive and boring. Like, I don't need to hear over and over and over and over and over again how many times she's gonna look over her shoulder. Like, I get it, truly. I got it the first 37 times. Now I'm annoyed. Like, now I don't want to hear it anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Also, I really hated the plot twist. Like, really hated it. Same thing in Final Girls. Really hated that plot twist. They're not even close to the same plot twist, but it was the same feeling I had where I was like, okay, where's this going? This is going somewhere? And then when I got to the plot twist, I was like, are you kidding me? No satisfaction with that plot twist. I'm not gonna go any farther into it. I feel like I'm just dragging this book. I gave it 2 stars. There were parts of it that I thought were like pretty fun and cheeky because it's Grady Hendrix, but like it wasn't even close to the level of his other books. So I gave it 2 stars. Really sorry, Grady Hendrix. Let's move on. Then I started reading Crying in Hmart by Michelle Zauner, and this is a memoir about Michelle growing up Korean American, losing her mother, and finding her own identity. And the way that she makes connections, describes things, feels things, and emotes is through food. Specifically food that she finds makes from Hmart, which is like a Korean grocery store that is found in the United States and Canada. And she describes this place as being very welcoming because she goes there and she recognizes the facial features, the food, the accents, the words, everything like that, that she doesn't see in America. And these are people that are there that maybe are missing the same place she is, missing the same people that she is, and she feels that she has a connection there, and that all of these Korean people when they create Korean food that's how they show that they love you. So that is how she is describing all of her emotions, and any time that her and her mother have had a connection, it has been through food or them shopping in Hmart. Now, while I find that a very interesting and creative way to emote and to tell a story and to connect, I just personally didn't care for it. I personally found it repetitive and boring, but that's me. Like, I know a lot of people have loved this. I ended up DNFing it at 50% because I didn't connect. Not only did I not connect to the main character, but to be honest, I found her mom insufferable. Like, insufferable. She was so annoying. Like, she was so annoying. And I'm like, okay, I get it that you can't really like understand someone else's family unless you're inside of it. Like, I'm sure that there are things that other people would look at my family and be like, what? But then I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, that's just the way we are, you know? So I can get that, but I didn't get this. Like, I didn't like it. I did not like it. I just found it boring. I didn't find it sad. I was just frustrated. So I personally end up DNFing it at 50%. Then we have another book that is going to be in my next weekly reading vlog, and it is The Patient by Jasper DeWitt. Does that sound like The Silent Patient? Does it? It's because they're like basically carbon copies of each other, but with like a weird kind of supernatural twist. Like, they're so similar. And literally on the back, it says like, if you're a fan of Alex Michaelides, you'll like this book. And I'm like, he literally just wrote this book about this. He read The Silent Patient and went, I can do that. Seriously. Anyway, this is about this young, overconfident, cocky psychiatrist who gets a job at a mental asylum and then thinks that he is the only man, the one and only man that can fix this patient, this highly dangerous patient, okay, that no one has been able to cure or even treat in modicum for 20 years. But this guy, who's like literally only like 20 years old, thinks, oh, I can do it, because he has a hero complex. He's a god complex. He's a savior complex. He's got a lot of complexes, okay? Can you tell what I rated this book? 2 stars. I might have given it 1.5 because I'm like, listen, the book is not terrible. It's not terrible, but it's bad. It is. And there's a lot of things about it that are bad, that needed to not happen, or should have had an editor. Like, literally, this read like an arc. It's not an arc. I checked, but it read like one because there was a bunch of typos. There was also a bunch of like double words or like sentences that I was like, didn't you just say that? Or just stuff like that. I was like, what are you doing? Like, this is a fully published book. I don't understand how that happened. There was things that were just repetitive. There were things that didn't end up like leading to fruition. There were things that didn't make sense that I was like, I think an editor would have been like, hey, did you want to like clear that up? Or like an editor would have been like, hey, so what you said in the beginning of the book means that what you just said at the end can't happen. So what? But he didn't. I don't know. Anyway, something like that offended me about this book, and it's a trope I hate. It's a trope I hate. Is that they're psychiatrists, okay? We're already in this world of very egotistical men, like a bunch of just intellectual, egotistical men. And there's one woman. There's literally only 2 female characters in this book, and one is a nurse who people are just like, oh, she's the old nurse and she keeps everything tip-top shape. Cool. And then there's a female psychiatrist who's the main character's boss. But do you think she's treated with respect? Surely not. While all these other people have tried to talk to this patient, she gets bamboozled because she doesn't have any kids. That's literally what the author says, is that she gets fooled by this patient because of like an empty nest syndrome, basically. Like, she doesn't have any kids and she's like, oh my God, I wanted him to be like my son. Are you serious? What? Like, I hate that trope. That's disgusting. Like, don't do that. Also, none of the men in this book have kids, but you don't see them acting like that. That was funny. That was funny. I love when, like, you know, we'll start talking and I'm like, bleh. Anyway, the ending was not good. I didn't like it. 1.5 star. Now we're here for the top 3 showdown. And I don't just mean the top 3 of August. I mean the top 3 of 2021. Like, I'm seriously sitting here being dramatic and telling you these are the 3 best books I've read all year. Like, for sure. For sure. First of which being They Never Learn by Lane Fargo. Or is it Laney Fargo? I've heard it both ways. Not totally sure, but oh my God, this book is fantastic. This is like, oh my God, if you love Gone Girl, you're gonna love this. If you love Gillian Flynn, you're gonna love this. Like, it's so deep, twisted, messed up. Like, I loved it. I love it. I love when you get in the head of a character who is just twisted. Like, okay, here's the thing. If Scarlett Clark and Amy Dunn got into the same room together, men would just merely cease to exist. Like, they would just be evaporated off of this planet within 5 minutes, for sure. And then somehow Scarlett and Amy would also have a backup plan of how women would continue to exist, like without sperm. Like, they would just have it all locked and loaded, and everything would be hunky-dory. Like, I'm serious. So our girl, Scarlett Clark, is an English professor at a university, but she has this really super unique hobby: murder, and she's really talented at it. Like, she shows a lot of promise, you know, she's really gifted. And every year she keeps a list of all of the horrible boys and men at this university, and she picks one to make an example out of, to like her own form of justice, okay? And this usually has something to do with like gaslighting, rape, and violence. Unfortunately, people are getting a little sus, you know, people are getting really nosy about all these deaths, okay? But in order to keep her friends close and her enemies closer, Scarlett weaves her way into this investigation and cozies up to the woman in charge. Yeah, this book is queer. Did I forget to tell you this book is queer? It's queer! And I'm like, wow, I did not know that. I had no idea going in, and that escalated the story like 1,000,000%. Do you know that TikTok where it's the sound of the person being like, so you murdered this man? And the woman being like, yeah, I walked him up the street. Don't know why the media act like he couldn't walk. He walked very well. I walked him upstairs, kicked his ass, and killed him. That is Scarlett Clark. Like, that TikTok literally is this book. I enjoyed reading from Scarlett Clark's point of view so much because it's so unique, and you never get to see stuff like this because not many authors are going to risk the backlash of writing a female in this way. I mean, honestly, just writing from a murderer's point of view is very taboo, I feel like, and it's very taboo to say that you like the book, for it to get published, for it to be as popular as this one is being right now, and especially for it to be a woman. Like, not only a woman writer, but also a woman main character who is murdering men. Like, the backlash that Lane Fargo has got to be receiving right now, I can't imagine. And let's talk about backlash. Lane Fargo choosing to end this book in the iconic way she did. Flawless. Flawless. Stunning. Literally, I thought I knew how this book was going to end from the first page. I was like, yeah, of course it's going to end like so-and-so way because it's easy or it's safe. It's not going to rile up that many people maybe. But no, Lane Fargo was like, hold my beer. And I was like, I stan you forever. Like, the ending of this book, truly iconic. Wow, stunning. Beautiful on the inside and out. Ace of Spades by Ferda Abeke Emeti. Do you not know what this book is about? You have to have. Have you been hearing people talk about this book over and over and over again? Good. You should. It's phenomenal. This book is fantastic. I loved it. If you happen to not know what it's about, let me take you on a ride. This is Get Out meets Gossip Girl. That's the best way to describe it. It's completely accurate. Like, good Lord, is it completely accurate? The tone and feeling of both of those things combined is in this book so flawlessly. So basically, we're following Devon and Chiamaka, and they go to this very rich elite boarding school. When they get chosen to be the prefects of this boarding school, they think everything's coming up roses. No, of course not. No, the entire student body starts getting text messages from someone called Aces revealing secrets about our main characters. And when I tell you that these secrets are juicy, they are juicy. Oh my God. Like, these are like TMZ. Like, I was like, what? Oh my God. Like, absolutely obsessed. Of course, it escalates, and these text messages and secrets become more and more incriminating and dangerous and even violent. Now, one thing that I should note, maybe I forgot to mention this. Chiamaka and Devon are the only Black students at this school. Seems sus? Does it seem sus? Okay, perfect. We're on the same page. Love to see it. Things turn deadly, and we are following Chiamaka and Devon trying to figure out who is doing this, why they're doing it, what they're gonna do, and how these two kids can survive. Without giving any spoilers, I wanna say, just because this makes me so happy, is that every time I'm reading a mystery thriller, always in the back of my head, I'm thinking, what if it's so-and-so? Like, what if it's blank? And it never is, but in this book, it happened. It happened. It finally happened. I was like, my paranoia has finally paid off. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but oh my God, God bless this book for finally giving me the closure that I always wanted, the validation that I always wanted, and my favorite paranoid plot twist finally came true. Okay. Absolutely love that. And also, I do want to say that I am not someone who can speak on representation because I'm not Black, so what would I know? But this had a lot of representation in it. Now, I'm not the person that can tell you whether it was a good depiction or good representation, but this is own voices, especially because Farida is a college student when she wrote this book. So she is very closely tied with the personas of these characters and the lives of these characters. So I really, really enjoyed that. And I think this is just a book that so desperately needed to be written, because not only is it like just such a huge story on classism and racism, but it's also a story that's so compulsively readable. It's so much fun. It's so funny and fascinating and good and enjoyable that I'm like, perfect. This needs to get into the hands of so many people because they're going to enjoy reading it. But then at the same time, just be hit upside the head with just blatant, violent, disgusting racism. And it like, I don't know. I absolutely loved it. I just think it needed to be said. 5 out of 5 stars. I truly don't know what to say. This is the last book I'm going to talk about. This is, I'm pretty sure, the best book I've read in 2021. Like, hands down. This is 5 stars. This is a favorite of all time. This is going to be a very rambly talk about this book because I honestly like couldn't think of anything to say. I don't know. I didn't write anything down. Haven't done a review on it. I don't know. This is Yolk by Mary H.K. Choi. Not only is this the prettiest book I've ever owned, and this was sent to me by someone named Flora, but they did not send a Instagram handle or anything. So whoever you are out there, thank you so much for sending this to me. This book is absolutely stunning. I love, like, it's like the two sisters. So we have Jane and June, and these two, oh my God, they're stunning. And then on the inside, it's like, oh my God, you see that? Like, it's like the reverse of the front and like the contrasting colors. I love this book so much. This is about these two sisters and they are estranged, and one of them is very, well off. She's like a hedge fund manager kind of, or like a stockbroker. I think it's like hedge funds. She does something with hedge funds. She has a lot of money. They live in New York City and she's living in her own really nice apartment, like very lush. And then the other sister, who's like 2 years younger, is going to art school and is a starving artist. Like, has no money and is just like too proud to ask parents for money, to ask her sister for money, to do anything like that. And they're estranged and they like act like they hate each other. But then the younger sister finds out that her older sister has cancer and that there is a very real possibility that she's going to die. And something that I realized reading this book is that there's so many books that normally, like, just the normal base of the plot wouldn't be enough to make it a 5-star, but the sister element of it shoots it up there like so far to being like one of the best books ever. Like The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna or Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, like, have just such beautiful sister relationships. And that happened in this book as well. Like, Jane and June's relationship is so beautifully and realistically told. Like, it is so, there's so much dark humor. That's something I would tell you. If you don't like dark humor, you're not gonna like this book, because the main character, like, that's what she does, is she uses dark humor to emote all of her feelings and to mask all of her emotions. So, and it's like dark. It's not like a little bit dark. It's like messed up dark, you know? And it's the way that you talk to your siblings. It's not like, oh my God, I hate you. It's like, you're such a bitch. Like, I hate you. You're the scum of the earth. Like that kind of thing. Or like talking to your sibling, just being like, this is why mom loves me more than you. Like that kind of thing, where you're reading it and you're like, oh my God. But then if you have a sibling like I do, you're like, yeah, that's like how you talk to each other, you know? Okay, one thing I want to say real quick. I very reluctantly recommend this book because this has a lot of trigger warnings. And you need to go into it knowing what you're getting into, because it is a stunning book. And I'm not saying not to read it, but if you can't handle it at this point in your life, don't do it, because it hurted. This book hurted, okay? One, this is stunning, good God. The very beginning, I love, it says, to Mike for going first. I love that. And then there's also the beginning just says, I could lie, say I like it like that, by Billie Eilish. But then let me tell you, this is the first book where I have seen a dedicated page to trigger warnings, and it's done so beautifully. So, well, one, I'm going to say that I don't know why she doesn't like mention it in this, but there is a lot of trigger warnings for death, for the possibility of death, even of a loved one, of broken relationships with family, struggling relationships. So many trigger warnings for that. But this says, this is a work of fiction that mirrors aspects of my own history with disordered eating, dysmorphia, and bulimia. For those struggling with body image and food, this story might be emotionally expensive for you. I love that you wrote emotionally expensive. Like, that's just an amazing way to word triggering. And then, please be gentle with yourselves. Sensitivity is a superpower. And please know that there is no such thing as a bad body. Truly. Take up space. It's your birthright. Love, Mary. And this is why I say this book is so triggering, because the talk of eating disorders is descriptive. It's elusive, it's mysterious, it's insidious, and then it points very disgustingly descriptive, like no holds barred, the whole bit, you know? And that's hard. That's really hard. It's like when you read, I almost said All's Well, A Little Life, and they talk about cutting and stuff like that, where they get into it and it's gross. She gets into it with eating disorders, and it's horrifying. And oh my God, it's really gonna mess you up. But her writing style is so stunning. It's so stunning. Like, Mary H.K. Choi has this way of describing people and appearances instead of adjectives. She does it through shared experience, which I don't see that much in books, and I absolutely adore. Like, say there's a moment where she's describing a character, and instead of just saying that the girl's pretty, the main character looks at her and the first thing she thinks is, I wonder how many Instagram followers she has. And I immediately could picture the girl. I immediately knew what she looked like. I knew the attitude, everything. I knew what she looked like. And each person's going to read that and picture a different girl, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be a specific appearance. It needs to be whoever you imagine when you hear that sentence. Amazing. Fantastic. Oh my God. And it made it so relatable, because it made you think about that character she's talking about and being like, because mentally that's what you do when you see somebody like that, or whoever it is that you're picturing, the real person you're picturing, that or that is on Instagram, like an Instagram baddie, and you're putting them into this story. So it's almost like your own lens. It's so good. Oh my God. I listened to the audio of this and I could not wait to get my hands on it. And I got my hands on it the day after I finished reading it. And I am going to physically pick this up again. I'm actually planning on reading it in September. So I need to tab this. I need to annotate. I loved it so much. I highly recommend it. If you can handle it, then I highly recommend it. Okay, that is gonna wrap up all of the books that I read in August. We had so many 5 stars. I'm so happy about that. I can't wait to see if anything else is gonna beat these books. I hope it does, because we don't want the best books of the year to already be over, but I'll be surprised if I end up loving another month of reading as much as I loved this one. If you got this far into the video, leave the egg emoji, obviously. If there's a broken egg emoji, actually yolk, that's even better. If not, just the egg, that would be great. Tell me if you've read any of these books, what you rated them, what you thought of my 5 stars, if you also gave them 5 stars, and please let me know what you thought of Yolk, and also what you thought of Ace of Spades, because I really want to talk about those books with people, really badly. I'm just obsessed, so comment down below. I will comment back. Also, if you want to check out my Instagram link, my Goodreads link, I also have Amazon and Libro links down below. If you want to check those out, be my guest. If you want to get Book of the Month, they will also be linked down below. And thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much to continuing to subscribe and like my videos. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you. So I will see you in another video. Have an amazing day, evening, night, dusk, dawn, whatever it is you're having right now. And I will see you in another video coming very soon. Bye.